Stream. Today, I want to talk about how I live on Bitcoin and how I use Umbrel to help build that foundation of everything from Bitcoin Lightning and other self-sovereign tools. So, if you guys are in the chat, let me know. Love to see any familiar faces out there. But as usual, I want to start with the, as you know, time chain calendar. Boom. We are on block 909,625 with an exchange rate of $118,800. The mempool is about 21 blocks in depth, so a little backed up, but you can get into the next block with about 2 sats per VByte, which is about 40 cents if you take the amount of the transaction times it by the sat per VByte. But other than that, stop sharing there. And yeah, let me know if you guys are in the chat. I'm repping a new hoodie. I got the Pub Key hoodie. I went there for my birthday this past weekend. So happy birthday, Nittany. And I just want to talk about why it's important to run your own Bitcoin node and why I chose Umbrel to do so. I think it's very important when you're getting into Bitcoin to start looking into self-sovereignty of your stack. So custodying your own Bitcoin and not trusting a third party, an exchange, a wallet that kind of doesn't give you your private key or doesn't give you the access to back it up. And today I want to show you the exact apps I use with Umbrel, why I chose them, my Lightning channel strategy, and how it all kind of keeps me sovereign and control my Bitcoin. And if you guys have ever wondered what it's like running a Bitcoin node, let's take a peek together because this is going to be a cool video for you. Because when I first started my journey, I was looking online like how do I open the right channels? How much Bitcoin do I put in the channel? How do I set the right fees? There's a whole lot of questions that need to be asked, and I'm hoping that I can answer them for you today. And the first thing I want to do is kind of just explain why I chose Umbrel. And the easiest way to kind of beat around the bush is it's the easiest way to do it. A lot of times people want to, build a DIY setup with a Raspberry Pi and kind of do your own little DIY route, and that's fine. However, when you go the DIY route, a lot of times you run into hiccups. A lot of people are not as tech savvy as others, and I went the DIY route with like an Intel NUC computer, and I downloaded Citadel, which is kind of like Umbrel, and I just ran into a lot of problems, a lot of connectivity issues, support questions that were hard to answer. There's like one or two people on the support thread to answer them, and I get it. The person running Citadel was just one regular dude, I think in Germany, and he was doing it as like a little part-time thing. So stepped away for a while, and then I kind of found Umbrel, and that's why I found Umbrel. And Umbrel is known for their module app store for Bitcoin Lightning and other self-sovereign tools. It acts as your personal home server. You own it, you control it. And I just want to show kind of like a little bit of what you can expect if you want to find Umbrel, like the website. Looks like this. So you go in and it'll be like umbrel.com, and you can see, like if you scroll a little bit, you can see like some information about it. The price has gone down significantly since I last purchased it. You can get up to 4 terabytes of storage. I think I bought the 2 terabyte one because the blockchain obviously has size. It takes up space, so I think the space it's about like 750 gigs, and then when you start downloading apps, which we'll get into in a little bit, that starts adding more storage to your device. Just want to future-proof it. And Umbrel Home is the device I have. I paid for it. It's a plug-and-play solution, but Umbrel OS is free. It's what you see on the right here, and what I'll show you in a sec. It's amazing. I can't even comprehend. I can't even explain how good it is, and it just makes it so simple to just sync to the blockchain, set up a Lightning node, connect your external wallets, check out the mempool, open up channels, close channels. It's literally a personal home server. So that's what I got for that. And I really want to focus on the next part is my go-to Umbrel apps and the ones that I use and the ones that I trust to help kind of expand my toolkit of living on Bitcoin. So with that, I'm going to actually show you guys my dashboard. And that's something that a lot of people won't do. And I think it's because of a couple things, but I think the main reason is it kind of gets into the nitty gritty and you kind of see balances and this and that. And there's a lot of privacy problems. But what I have right here is my actual home screen of my Umbrel. There's nothing personal going on. I mean, you see Nittany, that's my name. And then you see the URL, which if you get the Umbrel home, that's the URL you have. And I just kind of want to go through the apps that I've decided to download and why I have downloaded them. So the first one obviously is for privacy and sovereignty, which is Bitcoin Core right here. This is basically your personal node powered by Bitcoin Core. It's essentially the blockchain. You have connections to peers, whether it's ClearNet or Tor, and you can kind of independently store and validate your own Bitcoin transactions. Think of the whole blockchain on your device. So that's Bitcoin Core. The next one is Electrs or Electrum server, which is, it gives you the ability to connect privacy wallets directly to your node through a simple and efficient Electrum server. So it gives you kind of like your local network and then your Tor address that you can connect to. This is good for connecting apps like Blue Wallet or Zeus Wallet, Alby Go, I think you can connect to a couple different apps. Next one is Lightning Node or LND. This is the implementation of the Lightning Network that I've chosen. There's other ones. I think there's Core Lightning, and I've just chosen Lightning LND because it's just one that I find that I have used before and I have familiarity with. It's just like Bitcoin Core. It's tied to it, so it's all interconnected. This is where you can manage your channels. You can send and receive. You can look at your connections, your active channels, your send and receive capacity and availability. You're able to connect to like you see right here. You're also able to connect to your wallets and different devices and such to get that information to spend on the go on your phone. And then the next one is Thunderhub, which is a clean interface to view and check out your Lightning channels. I use it as kind of like my all-in-one like hub, so to speak. They call it Thunderhub. I just think of it as a hub of information that you can track, analyze, and pull data from on your Lightning node and Bitcoin on-chain balances as well. I like it because you're able to sign and verify messages. So a lot of times when you start interacting with the Lightning Network and use Nostr, you're able to sign messages. So Thunderhub has that tool built in where you can sign and verify messages. So that's one extra little tidbit that I use it for. But mainly it's just a view overall of my Lightning node and Bitcoin Core wallet. And if you guys have any questions, let me know. I know this can be a lot of information thrown at you. If you're just tuning in for the ride, let me know. I'd love to see who's in the chat. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm kind of just going through my agenda. And this is some type of content I really would have appreciated seeing myself years ago. So I'm really grateful I'm able to give this to you guys. The next thing is LNbits. This is a more recent addition. I use this to create sub-wallets for different purposes, whether it's spending, testing, or for projects, without touching my main wallet. So the best way to think of it as, I have this living on Bitcoin business, but I also have personal Bitcoin. And I'm trying not to commingle my funds like FTX and Celsius and Almedia, whatever research. So I'm essentially creating sub-wallets within my wallet. I'm creating a sub-wallet within my node using my node's liquidity inbound and outbound to help use it as like a balance between, let's just say I open up living on Bitcoin and you want to send me some sats. I have a wallet and it's a custodial wallet. Like I always say, don't trust, verify. I'm trusting myself. I'm the custodian of the funds. So it's a sub-wallet of my original balance. It's not using the original balance. It's using the inbound and outbound liquidity of those channels that I have set up, which I'll get into in a little bit. That's the big part of this video, live stream rather. And the reason I want to do the sub-wallet route is I want to start keeping track of when people send me zaps on Nostr or Stacker.news tips, or people want to pay me for that spreadsheet. I want to start keeping track and have a better bookkeeping record of that information. So that's why I use LNbits. We're all good. Okay, good. Just making sure. Um, and lastly, for payments in Lightning is LNDg, which is essentially just to analyze and automate your Lightning node. Basically, think of it as what a Thunderhub is, but more of an inside scoop of the Lightning part of it, where you can look up your peers, you can track your health and routing. Think of it as a command center for Lightning. It's honestly, excuse me, amazing because you can look at fees and you can automate your channel opening and closing. You can do a lot with it. Something worth looking into. Next is networking and remote access, which I've talked about in the past with Zeus Wallet. I use Tailscale. I've also talked about Tor. Tor sometimes is slow and unreliable just because it is kind of like, hidden. And Tailscale is more of an option that is ClearNet. It gives you its own URL that you can access anywhere in the world using the Tailscale app connected to your node. It looks like a little pin thing. I don't even know. It's just a VPN to access your Umbrel from anywhere in the world, essentially. It gives you an address. I use it for Zeus. I use it on the go when I'm traveling. I can. It gives me like my own little personalized. You see where it says Umbrel.local up top? It would just say like Tailscale, your name of your device, and then you can access it remotely. So it's something really nice to have. It's secure, private, and it gives me access anywhere in the world to my node. The next thing I want to talk about is Bitcoin community and social apps. Alby Hub is honestly, when it first came out, I was a little confused because it was kind of redundant. But since then, they've really upped the ante. Think of it as integrated with your node, and it allows app connections. It's a self-custodial Lightning wallet within, so I'm able to essentially, like I'm putting in the chat right now, the Nittany Crypto at Get Alby. Sorry, I can't type. That right there is a Lightning address tied to my Alby Hub, which goes to my Lightning node, so I don't have to pay anything. You send me 100 sats, I get 100 sats. It uses my node's liquidity on either ends to facilitate that transaction from you to me. It's great. I would recommend, if you have a node, you download this right now and set that up. Next is Nostr Relay. Nostr is that layer 3. So layer 1's on-chain Bitcoin. Layer 2 is the Lightning Network. Layer 3 social media on top of Bitcoin. It's essentially X, but decentralized and private. So a Nostr Relay is what the Nostr network relies on. Is how the Bitcoin network has nodes and miners? The Nostr Relay is like the version of Nostr's Bitcoin nodes and miners. It verifies, has a public ledger of the information. Maybe not public, but it's your own version. And that's that. And Kyle in the chat says, do you need to open a channel with Alby? So with Alby, if you have a Start 9, a Umbrel, or DIY option, or my node, I think there's different options. You do not need to open up a channel with Alby to have the Alby Hub. You can have a channel with anyone you want. You can have a channel with me. I can have a channel with you, ACINQ, Liquid, anything. If you want, you can have a channel with them. I think if you go to Alby Hub, like the website, you can actually create an account and have like a web hosted version. I'm choosing the route of having it on my node, and it's kind of like Thunderhub. It gives you access to your node, so you don't need to have a channel. It is something that I've thought about because Alby is pretty well connected within the overall network. So definitely a good point. Good question to ask. Need a little bit of water. Holy smokes. Thanks for asking, Kyle. And then next, I want to talk about Mempool, the self-hosted version of Mempool. So if you look in past videos, I used to showcase the Mempool, which is essentially just the Bitcoin blockchain. And it shows block by block, the transactions, the fees. But I use it as, on the self-hosted side of things, locally, no third party, oh my God, there's my New York accent coming. No third parties looking at your transaction. So when you send an on-chain transaction or open a Lightning channel, when you're doing something on the base layer Bitcoin, you want to look at that. You want to look at that transaction ID without having someone looking over your right shoulder. So that's why I use it. And Kyle says, how does your Lightning node get inbound liquidity? You still need a channel connected to a large node, right? Of course. Yeah, exactly. Um, when you first spin up your node, and I'm getting towards that right now actually. So I'm gonna unshare that. So going into the next part is all about Lightning channels, Lightning connections, all that stuff. So your question kind of naturally leads me in that direction. And when you first spin up your node, you need to have a channel with someone. You can either pay someone like LNBiG. You could pay like 10,000 sats, and they'll open up a channel to you. So they give you inbound liquidity, so you can receive it to your side. You can receive funds. Or you can open a channel to ACINQ, a well-connected, massive, connectedly node across the whole network. Your funds are on your side, so you can send. Until you send, then you can receive, and vice versa with LNBiG. Until you receive, then you can send. And then obviously, going on your second part of your question, I would recommend having at least for your first channel, having one solidly sized channel with a big. If you go to AMBOSS.space, and I can actually show you right now. So I'm going to actually pull up this. Hold on, give me 1 second, Kyle. So this is my node. So these are the channels I have. Obviously, the funds you see, the capacity, I don't have that on my side. But these are the channels I have decided to open with. And what you can do is you can pick and choose who you want to open to. And when I opened up ACINQ, that was like my first channel, and that was a big channel that I opened up with pretty much everyone in the network. Within a few hops, I can pretty much get to anywhere, and that's kind of why I chose that. And then going back to the Alby Hub, it does give you a URL to send to your Lightning address, which is tied to your node, if that makes sense. And definitely take a look at it. It's great. It makes it super simple. And now I want to talk about kind of exactly what I've mentioned, my channels that I've chosen to open up with. And as you can see, you kind of have to think of the Lightning Network as the channels are like roads. Who you connect determines how fast and reliable your payments are going to reach into that destination. So right now, I currently have ACINQ as my main channel. It's a super well connected node that routes me pretty much anywhere in the Lightning Network within a few hops. And that's kind of why I use it, is kind of like just to get me to where I need to go, receiving and sending wise. And then my second channel that I decided to open, which I mentioned in the past, was with Strike, but not Strike's node. It's that they have like a couple different nodes. They have like a routing node, and then they have a bunch of different nodes depending on your geographical location. I chose a US one because that's obviously where I'm located, but I was able to reach out and get that whitelisted for me. So it's my go-to for exchange-related payments. Makes it a little more cheaper for me to interact with them. And the last more recent connection is LNBiG. I actually opened the channel on my side. I didn't pay for it. In the past I have, but this time I wanted to kind of traffic. I wanted to route my traffic within my two bigger channels with Strike and ACINQ to kind of naturally rebalance my bigger channels. Because LNBiG is a pretty well-connected hub of channels and nodes that kind of route payments to one side. And after knowing what I've known, they tend to go from LNBiG to ACINQ or LNBiG to Strike. Just how it is. And Kyle says, kids are calling. I'll watch this when I get a chance. Keep up the content. This is what most Bitcoiners should be watching. I appreciate that, Kyle. Thank you so much. And that's what I said in the beginning. When I first started all about Bitcoin, when I got to the Lightning node and the self-sovereignty aspect of doing your own Bitcoin node and kind of that aspect of things, there are some good content creators out there that make content surrounding nodes, but I wanted something to kind of answer my questions, and maybe that's me being selfish, but what channels do I open to? How do I open them? How much should I put up in the Bitcoin channel, like capacity wise? What are the fees? So that's why I made this video, and I appreciate your comment. So that means a lot to me. The next thing I want to talk about is how I basically balance these channels. I've mentioned this previously with LNBiG. I essentially utilize LNBiG as a natural rebalance pattern, whether I use organic routing or I manually rebalance. I do prefer organic routing because there's no fee involved. When you manually rebalance, you're technically creating an invoice for yourself and then paying that invoice from yourself through a different channel. So you are paying through the network, and you are paying a fee. And one sec. Wow. And going back to LNDg and Zeus, when you send a payment and you go into the path, you can look at where your payment routed through the network and that final destination. So a lot of times I'm noticing when I send to the Bitcoin company, it kind of routes 2 or 3 times. You know, maybe it goes out of ACINQ one time or LNBiG, and then at the end of it, it goes to the Bitcoin company's node. In the between, there are different nodes that pop up that I've started to keep my eye on, and unfortunately, some of them are so high up on the totem pole that you need to either cough up a lot of Bitcoin, or you have to have like a well-established node. I only have 3 channels. I've had this node for maybe a year and a half. It's kind of a play, like it's hard to like play the game, if that makes sense. You have to kind of just be in it for a while, and you kind of get lucky, I guess. But I'm hoping with this video I can kind of get you guys in the right direction and kind of nudge you there. And then obviously you want to keep your channels in a reasonable you want to keep your channels reasonable. There's no need to lock up 0.1 Bitcoin or 10 million sats in one place for your Bitcoin Lightning needs. You literally don't need to do that. I think if you really want to, you can reach out to me, and I'll put my business email in the chat. It's livingonbitcoin@gmail.com. Reach out to me if you want to open up a channel with me. We can set it up. We can either announce it or keep it private. I already have everything I need to kind of do what I need to do. I've never had a problem sending a payment. If you have issues, or you just want someone to kind of just, you open up 100,000 sat. I do have a minimum. I think it's 1 million sats. You open up a 1 million sat channel with me, you're able to send through my node anywhere you want in the channel, and we can talk about fees separately in a more private setting. But feel free to reach out. I would appreciate if you just open up a channel. I'm not going to close it. I'll probably find a way to reach out to you, but just reach out to me if you plan on doing that, or are interested in maybe partnering on some type of no fee option. And yeah, I mean, pretty much when you talk about Lightning Network, you want to talk about fees. And one of the big questions I had is, how do I optimize my fees? What's the best fee to charge? And I've used LNDg's automated fee function before. I've used Lightning Terminal before, and a lot of times they would put the fee too low, and it would cause an imbalance in my channels. I don't want my Bitcoin on my side from Strike to go to ACINQ, because when it goes to ACINQ, there's a fee to send to an exchange. When I send to Strike, it's free with Strike's channel, because it's their channel, their node. So that's the issue. So you have to make sure you set the right fees. And what I do is I essentially go to AMBOSS.space, which we can go right here, and I can basically show you. If you go to ACINQ and you go to the fee report, you're going to see all these mumble jumbo stuff, outgoing, ratios, incoming, distributions, and all this stuff. I take the standard deviation, and I roughly place my fee around that fee rate. And that's, once you start routing payments, or you notice like failure routing things that pop up in your history within LNDg. If you scroll down, you'll see failed HTLCs, which is just the transaction. You'll notice it'll tell you maybe poor liquidity or incorrect fee, something like that. You'll start noticing traction between routing nodes. So that's why I like to do the standard deviation route, because it's kind of where everyone else is, but I kind of set it a little bit below, a little above, depending on how I want to keep it balanced within the channels. And then, yeah, I mean, there's 2 ways you could set, well, I guess now there's 4. There's the base fee, the fee rate, and then the inbound side. I don't touch the inbound side. I don't want to explain that because I don't understand it yet. I'm still working on that. But for the base fee, I keep it at 0. So it's #0 base fee. That's what they say. I don't know. So I have no flat fee payment, only a proportional percentage based on that standard deviation, which is on the AMBOSS website and other websites, but I just prefer AMBOSS. It keeps it pretty simple to look at. And lastly, like, if there's no other questions, it's mainly just tips on running your own node. You don't want to overload yourself with apps you don't use. It's kind of like your phone. You download a bunch of apps on your phone, you don't use half of them. Why are they on your phone? You want to start with strong. You want to start with strong, well-connected channels. I chose ACINQ. You could choose other ones. I know Wallet of Satoshi, Liquid, Bitfinex. There's a ton of different options out there that are really well connected, high capacity nodes that are great to connect with. I just chose ACINQ because they don't really close channels, knock on wood. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. And you want to keep track of your routing paths to make informed new connections. I've thought about opening up new channels with OpenNode, Fulcrum, Garlic, um, the Bitcoin company, Fold, PubKey, Satoshi Global. A lot of these merchants, companies, businesses, LSPs, or liquidity service providers like LNBiG or Zeus, like their Olympus node, you want to keep in mind your options. And for me, those options I just mentioned are things that I'm looking towards because at the end of the day, when I live on Bitcoin, I'm spending my Bitcoin. I keep track of my transactions. I look where it goes. A lot of times my transactions end up in OpenNode or end up at Fold or the Bitcoin company, or they route through Fulcrum, or they route through Liquid. So just something to keep in mind. And then obviously, really important note, you want to make sure you back up your data and your configs regularly. The node on them, when you set up your Umbrel node, already does that through Tor, but through Thunderhub, you're able to do that in their tools section. You can download a separate backup file, which is worth noting and something you should look into. That reminds me, I got to re-download mine. And yeah, guys, that's really all I have on why I chose Umbrel and the apps and tools I use to help build that foundation. Why Umbrel is so great for me and helps me live on Bitcoin and makes it that much easier. So that's my Umbrel setup, the exact apps, my Lightning channel strategy, and how it all works together so I can fully live on Bitcoin. If you're curious about running your own Lightning node or have any questions about these tools, drop them in the chat below or the comments when the video is posted. I'll answer them whenever I get a chance. I like to pretty much answer everything. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget, I'm still doing that 100 subscriber giveaway. I'm at 99 subscribers, so if you're not subscribed, go subscribe. You get automatically entered. I'll make a separate video, separate social media post for people to comment, and that's where I'll pull that information and select a random person to send Bitcoin to. So, with that being said, guys, Nittany on out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. More content coming soon. Formulating a little bit of a content strategy. So expect live streams on Sundays, vertical and horizontal content on Tuesdays and Fridays. That's my strategy for now. I think if I keep things consistent and regular, people will start recognizing that, okay, Nittany's posting on Tuesdays, Fridays, and he goes live on Sundays. So thank you guys so much for watching. Peace out. Remember, stay humble, stack sats.